Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Artsy Hair Jewelry Company. And today I'm going to show you from start to finish how to make a pair of earrings using polymer clay. So I have my clay already conditioned. I'm using Sculpey Primo, and these are the metallic colors. This is purple pearl, bright green pearl, and peacock pearl, and then I have the white pearl. I don't have a package of it. And this is a peacock pearl, but I added 50-50 white and peacock to get the light blue color. And this color, I added 50-50 white and the purple, and I'm going to wrap the cane in the light purple. Now we are making a flower cane, and for those that don't know, a cane is just a round cylinder of clay that you mold into all different, there's all kinds of things you can make. We're making a flower today, and as you slice through this, it's the same all the way through. You'll see. Okay, so I am using a little bit over a quarter ounce of clay, which the packaged clay comes, this is 2 ounces. So, and it's has 4 sections, as you can kind of see through the package. One of these sections is approximately half an ounce. So I'm using a little bit, a hair more than one section for each color. So first I am going to make a Skinner blend. And a Skinner blend, I posted a video yesterday instructing you how to make Skinner blends. If you want to, if you need to go back and watch that to learn. So a Skinner blend is just, I'm going to not mix these colors. I'm going to, I'm at a loss for what I'm trying to think of. Anyway, watch the video if you need to, but let me see. Okay, I'm going to cut the 2 outside colors diagonally, and the center color I'll go right down the middle, and I'm going to stack these like that, and like that. Oops. I think I'm going to stack them there. And then this is going to go down the middle. So I should have probably cut these. I had these squares were 2.5 inches by 2.5, or 2 3/4 inches by 2 3/4 inches, and so this isn't measuring up, which is okay. I'll just do it like that, and like that, and I'm just going to kind of press them together. And I have my pasta machine over here out of camera range. I don't have enough room on my desk to put it all in camera range. So I'm going to make my Skinner blend, and I will be right back. That's the word I was looking for. I'm making a blend. So I will be right back with the Skinner blend, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I have my beautiful blend, and you may want to blend this more. I was having trouble with my pasta machine, so I stopped early. Okay, so you have it this far. Now I'm just going to fold it over on itself, and I'm going to run it through because I want a long thin strip of this. So I'm going to run it through probably to the lowest setting that I can do on my machine, which is down to about a 2. So I will be right back again. Alrighty then. So I have my long strip. This is probably about 20 inches long, but it can be longer or shorter. There's no set length. So I'm stretching it out, and I'm going to take, this is going to be part of the petal. So I just have rolled this into a solid like tube, just after conditioning my clay, I just rolled it into, they're called jelly rolls. I don't know why they're called that, but I'm starting with the white. So I just laid it down across my strip, and I'm going to roll it up, and I'm putting a little pressure on this because I do not want air bubbles if I can help it. And I'm just going to roll this all the way to the end, and my strip is about a little over 2 inches wide. But like I said, it doesn't matter the measurements of your strip. Because you could do this 10 times and you would get a little bit different measurement every time, believe me. Okay, so I have rolled that up with my purple in the middle. I want to trim off the ends. I do not want anything sticking out like that. This end looks okay. And so now I am going to wrap this in my, I'm just trying to kind of get it to go together a little bit more. I'm going to roll this in my light purple, and I think I'm going to have to, that barely fits. I'm going to make this a little bit thinner. Just wanted to make sure I had enough. That seems awfully thin. You know what? I'm gonna let me start over here. All I'm doing is gonna fold this, and now I forgot to change my setting on my pasta machine, so it came out thin again. That happens a lot. Ah. Oh dear, sorry I'm off camera. I'm having to readjust everything to get the right thickness for my outer piece of clay. So just bear with me. Okay, I should have left it how it was from the start. I don't even think this is going to be, it barely fits, but I will make it work. I will show you. So let me, I'm gonna, I want this to be the same width as my roll. You don't want all this extra. What I think I'm going to have to do, because I don't think this is going to quite go all the way around, but that's a real easy fix. With polymer clay, it's really hard to mess things up so bad that you can't fix it. There's I can't remember, maybe one or two times where I have made a mess out of something so bad that I couldn't fix it. Um, every other time, it's very easy if you make a mistake. It's very easy to fix with polymer clay. Polymer clay is very forgiving, very forgiving. So I'm just going to wrap, and I don't want to put the seam on the seam. So I'm going to start on the opposite side and just line it up, wrap my clay around. Now see, I knew it wouldn't make it all the way around, so I just cut a piece, and I think this will work. And I'm just going to lay it where it needs to cover, and this should work out perfect. There I go. I didn't quite need that much. Just take this off. Yeah, polymer clay is very forgiving, which I love. All right. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And I want the ends look good. I just have a small acrylic roller. I just kind of want to make sure these seams are down good. You don't have to do this, but I'm just taking a little extra precaution. All right. So now that I have it covered, I'm going to take another acrylic roller, and this is probably 1/4 inch, and I don't think I'm going to put it on that seam. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press this down, and I want it to touch down to the purple. I'm making like a, what do you call it, a trough? I'm making a place. I don't want to break my acrylic rod. So I want to go easy. This clay is it's so cold here in Jacksonville, Florida. My studio's warm, but my clay at room temperature sitting overnight, it was so cold. We were below freezing. So my clay is a little hard, not like it gets in the summer. Okay, so I just made a trough, and I pushed down to the purple, and now I'm going to take my green. I did the same thing, just made a plain jelly roll. And I'm going to pinch it a little. I want this to be kind of a teardrop shape. So I am pinching it on one side. I'll show you in a second. I'm just kind of making a triangle like that, kind of a teardrop shape. So I am just squeezing it on the one side all the way down, like so. So that's what it's going to look like. Get this other stuff out of the way a little bit. And I want to trim this off. And now we're going to reduce. Reduce. You do a lot of reducing in this polymer clay. So I want this to end up a petal shape, so I'm going to squeeze across the green, get that to go together. And this, believe it or not, is going to end up petal shape, and then I'm going to slice it and put each petal together and make a flower. So what I need to do is get this down to, I like my flowers to have 5 petals. So that's, if I have a 7.5 inch long piece of cane, I can make 5 slices, 1.5 inches each. I don't like to make mine 1 inch because that's hard for me to work with. 1 inch is not very long. I make mine 1.5 inches, and you'll see what I mean. So to reduce, you have to squeeze, twist, pull, and just, it's just time. It just takes time to reduce. It's not hard. When you're first learning, you know, it's a little daunting because you're not sure if you're doing it right, and you'll end up with, when you reduce, you always end up with waste on both ends. That's just how it is. But the longer and the more practice I had reducing, most of the time I end up with, you know, very little waste. And really it's not waste, because when I start showing you how to make Natasha beads, see, I could have used more green in here. I kind of wanted my green to go down further, but yeah, I wanted the green to go all the way to the bottom, and it's not, but that's okay. That's okay. I should have made my green jelly roll a little bit thicker. So I'm just gently like pulling and twisting, gently. And the more you do this, you'll feel your clay start to loosen up from the heat of your hands, and just from working it, it gets softer and softer. And so it will get easier and easier. You want to try to keep it. I'm doing really good. I'm not getting very much waste at all so far. So a lot of people like to reduce on their surface, and to do this, like I said, this is going to be the shape of a petal. So that means I want one side to be, well, I want this to kind of be a triangle. And to reduce triangles, you put your roll down and you push, not with your thumb so much, but with your fingers. And as you push with your fingers, you'll feel it starting to spread out. Turn it over and do the other side like that. And you can also stretch it this way. But a lot of people really like to push down on the glass with their fingers, a little bit with your thumb, and that way they keep the triangle shape better. So I'm going to reduce this to 7.5 inches and be right back, because watching me reduce is kind of like watching paint dry. I don't think that's so much fun, so I will be back. Okay, so I made it a little longer than 7.5 because, like I said, there's distortion on the end. You can see this end. You have to cut that off, and I've already cut off the other side. Look how pretty that looks. Isn't that cool? So let me cut this end off, and you have to go back a little ways, because if you just cut just the very tip of it off, let me show you what happens. That's what you get. So you have to cut it far enough back to where your purple is showing. Okay. So let me try it there. Not quite. I need to take off more. And that looks good. There's that end. Now, this is a little more triangular than a petal of a flower, but I can change the shape of the petals after I get the flower put together. So I have each one of these squares represents an inch. So I'm going to, and this isn't quite 7.5, so I just need to pull on it a little bit more. Make sure I have 7.5 inches. And I do. So I want to cut at 1.5 inches. Oh, that's a little bit over. Okay, so 1.5 inches would be right here. Oh, that's only 1 inch. Ah! Oh no! Oh my goodness, what am I thinking? Okay, I thought that looked short. So easy fix. I'm just going to push it back together. I haven't done that in a long time. I'm just going to take my roller and make sure I have the best bond that I can get. I can't believe I did that. Oh, brother. Okay, let me try again. So I want 1.5 inch pieces. That was 1 inch. That's 1 inch. So 1.5 is right here. That was a little bit over 1.5. So now once I have the first piece cut, I don't try to go by these lines. It's harder for me. I line up, the first piece and slice on down the line. That way I have a more uniform size petal. I just have better luck that way. except it looks like this last one is bigger than the rest of them, and it is. I don't know how that happened. I don't know what's going on. This one looks short. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, so I have my 5 pieces. And gosh, this one really is a lot shorter. You know what? I've done this before. I've actually added on. That helps. I don't know how that happened. I am just really messing up. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. So I want to, and once I get this put together, the shape of the petal will be better. So I'm just going to line this up. This one looks short too. Like that. This one, you know what I'm going to do is add a little bit onto that end also. Like, that looks so big. Just so I have a little bit more uniform. Now, I want a center for my flower, so I have this pale green I decided to use. And I just made another jelly roll, but I don't want it as big around as it is right now. So I'm just taking it down a little bit. And okay, this still might be a little big. Nope, that looks pretty good. Okay. So I'm just going to put my petals around evenly spaced, as even as I can get it, around the center. Like that. Let me cut this off. Now, you always want to check the other side, the other end, because it's so easy to make this wonky. Oh, trying to just keep everything evenly spaced. And I just start by gently pushing everything in. I check my other side again carefully. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So I'm just going to push my petals in, try to get everything together. Now at this point, a lot of people backfill with translucent. Backfilling would be, I'd take translucent, make rolls, and I would fit it in between each petal. And I used to do that when I first started, but to me, it's a lot of extra work that I found I didn't need to do. So this is kind of the tricky part where you're trying to get everything to go together and stay together. I always go back and forth, turning it over, because I do not want things to get like wonky. Like one petal can be twisted more than the others and mess up the whole thing. So turn it over. This end definitely looks a lot better than the other end. But you just gently take your time, push in the petals together. And eventually start pushing in the middle. And I'm turning it and just gently pushing the petals together, trying to get rid of the spaces between the petals. And you see it's happening pretty quick. I'm pushing down in the middle, pushing gently in the middle, and I'm starting to pull the ends a little bit. This is starting to reduce it, which we're going to have to do. You do not want a earring that big. So we need to do some reducing here. And I'm going to do it the same way I did last time. I'm just starting to kind of twist it and pull it. Twist and pull, gently twist and pull. And a lot of people start with an hourglass shape. They squeeze it in the middle more than the ends. I don't necessarily do that because I find I have more distortion on the ends. I try to keep my reduction even all the way down to either end. So I'm just squeezing and rotating, pulling. Now a lot of people will start doing this. I hardly ever do that, especially this soon. When you get it down, reduced to about the size of a roll of quarters, I've heard other people say when it gets about the size of a roll of quarters, you can start rolling it across your tabletop. But like I said, I hardly ever do that. If I do it, I just do it just roll it a couple of times. So I'm squeezing here and squeezing here. And I always take one side down more than the other. I get it down to about the size of a roll of quarters, and then take one end and reduce it to about the size of a nickel, and then I take another end, I cut off a piece and roll it down to about the size of a dime. I like to have different sizes of the same cane so I can make earrings, or I can make a necklace or a bracelet to match. So I'll show you what I mean after I reduce this, and I will be back. Okay, so I have one end reduced more than the other, but I left the distorted ends on that need to be cut off. I'm going to leave the big end of this alone for now. And I'm going to slice this about right here. And that's pretty. Doesn't look much like a flower, but it kind of does. It will look more like one by the time I finish doing what I do to it. And I want this a little bit smaller. So this is about the size in between a nickel and a dime right now. I'm going to take it down a little here more. Okay, now these wonky ends, they are wonderful to make Natasha beads out of. So you want to keep your ends. I'll show you what you do with those another time. But I'm going to put all my scraps together. And that's probably a good size for what I want to do with it. So I'm going to slice this about, I'd say, a 1/4 inch. My slices are probably a little bit less than a 1/4 inch. Just eye it, but I make them on the thick side because I'll show you why. And the clay is so soft right now, so I am rolling this as I slice it to try to keep it round. Oops, I messed that up. Cut that off. Okay, this clay is so soft from reducing right now. See, I can't slice it. It distorts it too much. So I need to let this sit or put it in the freezer for 15 minutes, or let it sit for half an hour, or else I am just not going to be able to slice it correctly. So let me go throw this in the freezer. So I think I got it. I put it in the freezer for a few minutes, and I think I got it to where I can safely slice it. Like I said, I'm slicing it pretty thick, eighth of an inch, between an eighth of an inch and a 1/4 of an inch. You want to keep it as straight as you can. And I'll show you the reason I make my slices so thick when I am working with a flour cane. There's a reason for it. Okay, that looks pretty good. And the bottom's a tiny bit flat, but that's easily fixed. Okay, I want these to look more like flowers. So I have a tool that I made. I take a T-pen, get these in the sewing department, and I just use some scrap clay to make a handle around it, and I baked it and cured the clay, and I have a little tool. I use it when I am forming my flowers. So what I do is everywhere you see a pink line, I go in between each petal and I push. And what I'm doing is just kind of defining the petals. Instead of having a flat, round disc for your flower, you want to make it look more like a flower. And so after I do that, I take another tool. These are not rubber, what are they? Silicone clay tools, but you don't even have to use that. You can use the end of a paintbrush. I mean, there's a million things you can use. You can find stuff around your house. I'm using the end of a paintbrush, and I'm going to go on each petal and push down ever so gently to make the petals more three-dimensional. This just really makes it look like a flower instead of just a flat, round pancake. I don't know if you can see. You can see how I did it. Now I used to turn it over and use my needle tool for the other side, but I stopped doing that. Every once in a while I'll do both sides, but you really don't need to. You can see where I pushed down with my, oops, I missed one, the end of my paintbrush. There. And that just gives you the little indents to give it more of a flower look. And I'm going to do it with my other slice. Try to see which side I like better. And go in between each petal. And take my paintbrush and make my little indents. So I have a much better looking flower. Okay, so we're at a point where they need to go in the oven and be cured. Oh, I usually poke my hole before I bake also. You don't have to. You can do it afterwards, but if you do it afterwards, you have to use a drill bit. So let's see, just pick a petal. I'm just kind of looking at it. It really doesn't matter. I think that one. I'm going to use my needle tool, poke a hole through it, and then I'm going to turn it over and go through the other side just to make sure that I have a clean hole. And you kind of want to do it in the same spot on your other one so they hang the same once we put the ear wire on it. I'm going to bake these, and while these are in the oven curing, I'm going to pull out some crystals and my sterling silver wire so I can show you how I make my ear wires and turn these into a pair of earrings. Now I use the Sculpey Primo clay for these. So if you didn't use Sculpey Primo, check your package directions and find out what temperature you need to set your oven to. With Sculpey, it's 275 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm going to put these in for almost an hour, probably more like 45 or 50 minutes. But I have these going on I cure my things on a cookie sheet that I have lined with parchment paper. Here's earrings I made yesterday. I'm going to bake those. I have some Natasha pendants right there. I have some round beads that I've made. So I try to have a few things baking at the same time so I don't use all of that oven space for just a small pair of earrings. So these will go in the oven, and I'll pull out my other earring making supplies and show you how to turn these into earrings. Okay, so they have come out of the oven and cooled. They are ready to go, and I'm going to throw some resin on here. Here's my little UV flashlight that I use just to set the resins. So when I move these to my UV light, I use UV resin. When I move them to my light, before I move them, physically move them, I set the resin so it doesn't pour off before I get there. So this actually is for fingernails. I got it at Walmart, and the only reason I use this is because I like the brush. Um, I used to ruin so many brushes with UV resin that it got annoying and expensive. So I just refill when this is empty. I refill it, and please excuse my old-looking bottles, but I buy big bottles of UV resin and refill these smaller ones. Yeah. And I have tried many different brands and have not found one to be any better than the next. They're all pretty much the same in my opinion. However, the fingernail UV resin uh, cures a lot faster than the UV resin made for crafts. Did I say I got this at Walmart? Uh, yeah, I get these little bottles, and I have about probably 6 or 8 of them. And after I use this resin, I will refill it. So I'm going to not dry, flash cure. Now this resin only takes like, oh, let me see. Oh, it says shake well. That's funny. I never have shaken it up before. I think this only takes like less than 2 minutes to cure, I believe. And the resin that you get from Michael's or Hobby Lobby or Joann's, that resin takes usually about 20 to 30 minutes, sometimes even longer. When you are using a UV lamp to cure it, if you put it outside in the sunshine to cure it, it takes about probably around 10 minutes. So what I do a lot of time is, I showed you how I cure my uncured clay on a cookie sheet lined with parchment paper. Well, I usually, or a lot of times, I will after the tray comes out of the oven, I will resin each piece and flash cure it each piece, and then take the whole tray outside. You know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to use my lamp. I'm not even going to move these. I'm going to finish curing them right here because this cures so fast. I bet this first one is probably, yep, that's that quick. So I do the tops first, and then I'm going to do the sides, and then I'll do the backs. That's probably done. So let me get the sides. And the sides, I try to put a really thin coat on so the resin doesn't drip off. And I only go part way around it at a time. Like I said, I don't want it to run off or for drips to form. So I took that about halfway around. And I know it's at least set, so I can do the other half very, very thin coat. Every once in a while, I'll get a drip if I'm in too much of a hurry or if I put a little bit too much on, which is fixable. If you have a big drip that has hardened, all you do is take, I need to wipe my fingers. Um, all you do is take either a nail file or a piece of sandpaper and gently file down the hardened resin that's a mistake, and then you re-resin it, and it will look good as new. Okay, now a lot of people sand their pieces once they take them out of the oven and cool them. A lot of people will start out with like 220 grit sandpaper and keep going down and down and down. Some people go all the way to 3,000. But when I first started, I would sand most of my pieces, and then I figured out I didn't need to do all that sanding. It was a waste of time. I mean, it is very rare that I have to take sandpaper to anything. And a lot of the reason is pieces come out. If you take your time before you put them in the oven to cure and try to make sure everything's done nice and neat and mistakes haven't been made, you'll find that they come out perfect and there's no need for sanding. So, like I said, every once in a while I'll find the need to sand something, like if something is just off a little bit or not quite a corner is not quite square, or some minor thing that I didn't see. I mean, but that's only like once every 6 months, if even that often, will I have to use sandpaper. I go long periods of time without having to use sandpaper for anything. Last time I used sandpaper was a couple of months ago, and it's because I had a drip. I had put too much resin on something and it went over the edge. And the time before that, it was for a drip also. I was putting resin on the edge, and too thick, too much resin, and it started to drip off. So, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to finish resining this and go wash my hands. A lot of people wear gloves when they resin. I I don't usually get resin on my hands, so I don't use gloves. But if you want to be extra safe, you can use gloves. Okay, you guys, I went ahead and made the first one. But you know what? When I put the hole through this, I was not thinking. So I had to go back and drill a hole because wanted to add crystals to it. And had I used the holes that I made before I baked it, I would have just been able to attach the ear wire. Wanted to use some crystals and to use a head. You have to use a head pin to do that. And so I had to drill a hole. I have a little hand drill that I used, and I drilled a hole through it so I could add my head pin. And I put a crystal down at the bottom. And then I have a little metal bead and and then two more crystals. And these just, of course, slide on the head pin. And voila. Now I was going to make my ear wires because I usually do, but I had these sterling silver ear wires that were already made. So I decided to use those in order to save time. It's this video, I would like to keep my videos to around an hour, and I'm already going on an hour and a half. So usually I use this, which is made to make a loop in the ear wire. It's a tool you can buy at Michael's is where I got that one. But a lot of people don't have that. So what I'm going to do is use my round nose pliers, and all you do is put the head pin in between the pliers, and I'm going to twist and twist all the way until I can't go any further. And that didn't quite close it, you can see, which is good because I want to slide my ear wire. Before I close it all the way, I'm going to put my ear wire in. And I need to hold the bottom of the head pin so it doesn't turn so much. And I'm just going to attach my ear wire. And then I can go ahead and close it. I just put my needle nose back in and carefully, so not to bend the ear wire I just put in. And I'm going to close it up. And it's that easy. And voila, you have an earring from start to finish. Flower polymer clay, Swarovski crystals, sterling silver ear wire, and they're kind of cute. So there you have it. And I thank you guys for stopping by, and look for my next video to come out tomorrow. Have a great day or evening, whatever part of the world you are in, and I will see you next time. Bye now.